Star Fox 64 has had one of the hardest slept-on soundtracks in video game history. The music was co-written by the legendary Koji Kondo, right in between his work on Super Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time. And the Star Fox 64 theme is just as good as anything on either of those soundtracks. It was also co-written by Hajime Wakai and was Wakai's first composition gig with Nintendo, a fascinating showcase of the early style and talent of the man who went on to write some of the most charming and unique music in Nintendo's catalog. So when I saw that Nintendo had released some of the soundtrack to their new Star Fox reboot on Nintendo Music, I was thrilled to see just how faithful the new arrangements are to the N64 originals. None of the actual notes of these compositions have been touched. They've just been given the live orchestra treatment they've always deserved, drawing more color and richness out of the original intent of each track than the N64 sound card could accommodate back in 1997. The respect for the source material on display here bodes very well for the game as a whole, I'd say. So, in celebration of this celebration of a Nintendo soundtrack that deserves more and might finally be getting it, let's talk about what defines the sound of Star Fox 64. By contrast to the cartoony sound of Super Mario and the epic fantasy atmosphere of Ocarina of Time, Star Fox's music is determined, it's militaristic, and it captures a sense of preparing to meet a daunting challenge head-on. The main theme, penned by Koji Kondo, uses an elegant blend of these musical ingredients to bring this feeling to life. The military feel of the soundtrack is provided mostly by the marching rhythm. Timpani and snare drum rolls simmer behind a brass section that plants notes squarely on each beat and heavily emphasizes beats 1 and 3. Compare this to the syncopated rhythms of Mario. Or even the more up-tempo, adventurous themes from Ocarina of Time. If Hyrule Field runs at a sprint, barreling forward through your journey, Star Fox's marching tempo keeps us in the war room debriefing before our mission. Another aspect contributing to the military sound is the use of perfect fourths. Fourth intervals sound cold. They don't have the comfort and warmth of thirds or sixths, or the harsh pointedness of seconds or sevenths. They don't feel as open as fifths either. There's a mechanical sense to the perfect fourth, something just a bit unhuman. This feeling gets leveraged well in more dissonant and threatening sounding pieces, as we'll see in a minute, but I think it's interesting that the melody of the main theme is harmonized just about entirely with perfect fourths. The fourth between A and D here, combined with the G bass note, give us a G sus2 chord. It's the tonic chord, but it's neither major nor minor, neither bright nor dark, neither cold nor hot, and this contributes a sort of detached feeling to the theme, like we're grimly assessing the situation at hand rather than welling up with a spirit of adventure. But alongside this coldness, there is an element of heroism to this music too, and I think this is supplied by the use of the Mixolydian scale. The main motif runs up from the 5th to the flat 7th, which is the characteristic note of the Mixolydian scale, and then, as the melody continues, it passes by major thirds to solidify the sound of that mode. The Mixolydian scale, or the major scale with a flat 7th, was the go-to sound to evoke heroism in 90s video games, and it's all over Nintendo games from that time. Something like Hyrule Field's theme from Ocarina of Time also uses the G Mixolydian scale for its adventurous and heroic attitude, but heavily emphasizes the major third of our G chord, and spells out clear movement between G and F major chords in the harmony. Using this same scale but with a more ambiguous approach to the harmony retains some of that heroic quality but gives Star Fox a less optimistic vibe. Nevertheless, the Mixolydian scale creates the music's sense of determination. The Star Fox crew is on a mission and they're going to save the universe, but it's not going to be a fun time. The danger of the mission at hand is frequently expressed in the soundtrack through chromatic movements that feel dark and threatening. The second phrase of the main theme jumps to the 4 chord, C, a typical move, but then it slides back and forth between C and D flat chords under a development of the same determined melody. This D flat, the flat 5 of the key, isn't a functional part of the progression here. It's being used as a way to color that C major chord with a sense of danger. That danger makes the C chord feel more heroic by comparison. Resolving to C major here instead of like a C sus chord turns it into a beacon of light cutting through the darkness. Chromatic sliding is used to evoke this same darkness, the same ominous presence all over the soundtrack. The map music, also written by Koji Kondo, expands on the same main theme. After running up to the flat 7th of the key, the melody slides down chromatically back to where it started. We're keeping the same militant atmosphere that we had in the main theme, with the low 4th intervals holding steady on C and F notes underneath the whole thing, emphasizing the strong beats at a marching tempo, but the added chromatic motion ups the amount of darkness in the piece, and this darker variation on the original theme tells us that we're getting closer to embarking on our mission, and forcing us to wonder if we'll be able to make it through in one piece. And the threatening nature of the music only increases as you actually move into the missions themselves. Corneria's theme, written by Hajime Wakai, sets up a vamp in 6/4 time that trades between F minor and E flat minor over G flat chords. The shrill 16th note strings are unrelenting, and the 1 to flat 2 movement in the bass invokes a less heroic mode, the Phrygian scale. Followers of the channel will know that the Phrygian scale, a minor scale with a flat 2nd, is the perfect sound for creating a sense of threat, and it's used all over the Star Fox soundtrack to great effect. Trading between the tonic chord F minor and an E flat minor chord, which has the flat 2nd of the key in it, is a way to instantly access the Phrygian sound, and it's even more emphasized here by placing the flat 2nd of the key in the bass. The melody leans into it too. This main figure clearly outlines F minor, and then as the figure repeats, the last few notes move step by step down the F minor scale until the phrase closes on an ominous flat 2-1 resolution. The game's militaristic feel is maintained by the rhythm here. We still have a marching tempo and snare drum and timpani hard at work, but there's also a specific rhythmic pattern of dotted quarter notes followed by undotted quarter notes that's taken on a musical shorthand for military operations. The Mission Impossible theme is my go-to example. The Mission Impossible theme uses 2 dotted quarter notes followed by 2 regular quarter notes, adding up to be in 5/4 time. If we compare it to the Corneria theme, it's exactly the same, just with an extra beat of rest thrown in to expand it to 6/4 time. You'll find this same rhythmic formula bringing the stress of high-stakes missions all over the game. The second boss theme in the game uses the exact Mission Impossible pattern for its accompaniment, for example. Meteo's theme takes the same approach but in 3/4, the pattern now 2 dotted quarters followed by 3 quarter notes, as accented by the timpani part. On top of this, a steady stream of 8th notes in the bass wind around an E Phrygian scale, the low range accentuating the scale's ominous nature. When a melody comes in, it's once again harmonized in perfect fourths for this bleak, detached feeling, and features chromatic descent to create that sense of danger that we're looking for. Having a consistent palette of compositional tricks to pull from across the soundtrack is the best way to establish a game's unique sound. The music for Fortuna and Sector Z uses the same Special Ops rhythmic approach, but twists it to be more rhythmically disorienting. We alternate between a bar of 5/4 and a bar of 3/4, giving us the Mission Impossible rhythm 1 bar and then this short, jittery 3/4 rhythm immediately after. The thing that I find funny about this is that it actually adds up to 8, so you could write this out in 4/4 time, but it's syncopated so specifically to the military operations cliché that it's almost impossible to feel it in 4/4. This kind of disorientation is something that Hajime Wakai is fantastic at. He somehow finds a way to surprise you even if you think you know all of the musical tricks of the trade. The music for the training mode, written by Wakai, follows the lead set by Kondo's main theme. Staccato brass stabs on the beat in a marching tempo, perfect fourth intervals, and rolling snare drum accompaniment, setting up a militaristic feel. But when the melody comes in, it meanders out of the standard 4-bar phrase box and leaves you guessing where you are. The genius of this melody is that it feels like it should be a 4-bar phrase. The first 4 bars work perfectly as a 4-bar phrase, it's just that this 4th bar also works as the start of another 4-bar phrase, and the two dovetail together into a 7-bar phrase. And then, instead of just having a melody with a 7-bar phrase, which would be weird enough, the melody is passed from the strings to the trumpets and starts the first bar of the phrase again on the last bar of the previous phrase, dovetailing 2 7-bar phrases together for a 13-bar phrase. And then the strings cut off that last bar of the melody to set up a 12-bar loop of 2 7-bar phrases. The constant C bass note ties it all together, and the way the harmony plays around with different borrowed chords creates the perfect amount of ambiguous motion, where we don't feel like we're not going anywhere, but we also never get where we're going. I adore Wakai's writing. His idiosyncratic choices and ability to disorient turn out to be a perfect complement to Kondo's emotional precision and melodic virtuosity. A lot of the soundtrack is pretty harrowing, as most of the music is scoring daring flights through enemy territory, but Kondo's contributions to the soundtrack balance out the overall tone of the game. Another theme he wrote for the game appears first in the title screen, and it sounds like something you'd hear in Ocarina of Time. The static tonic G note in the melody holding while the harmony descends farther and farther into the depths, ending on this B augmented chord, portrays our hero doing their best to hold out against an overwhelming force. And the quizzical sound of the augmented triad at the end leaves us wondering if they will succeed. With the mission accomplished theme, that question is answered. We did it, ladies and gents. The same melody plays out over a G bass pedal, the melody emphasizing the flat 7th of the key but also running fleetingly over the major 3rd for that same dutiful Mixolydian sound that colored the main theme of the game. But after the first phrase, the following phrase takes the same melody and bumps it up to a straight G major version that is harmonized with what sounds like the bridge section from Zelda's Lullaby. Bringing us out of the sound of anxious anticipation for our mission and into this beautiful G major descent from our 4 chord to the 1 chord brings a sense of satisfaction, a sense that we accomplished what we set out to do. This feeling is taken even farther with the All Clear theme, the same melody now starting in G major and harmonized to sound like it's scoring a graduation. How fitting for one who's finished all the missions the game had to throw at them and came out the other side unscathed. It feels like our starfox team should be standing at an awards ceremony receiving medals of honor. The darker elements of threat, the chromatic descents, the perfect fourth harmonies, the Phrygian scales, embody the challenge and sense of danger that is a part of the appeal these games have to players. The military rhythms and orchestration gives the exact right flavor to flesh out the world of the game, the character's sense of duty, the high stakes of the battle at hand, and how awesome these gigantic spaceships are. The masterful melody writing humanizes these cartoon animal characters, showing us their sense of purpose and evoking in us all the feelings they'd be feeling before taking on their missions. Anticipation, a hint of worry, but overall, a resolve to do what you have to do to triumph over evil and save the galaxy. I really like the soundtrack, and I'm completely thrilled with the respect for the original music you can feel emanating from the new arrangements. I hope you enjoyed this look into Star Fox 64, and I'll see you in the next one.